Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Time for us to take a look and see what the day's got in store for our new account. It says cast 20 white and red spells, but it's only paying us 500 gold. That's not enough. Dude, that's not enough. In the pack side of things, we have a pack waiting for us to open. Must have picked that up off of the Battle Pass. If we check out the Battle Pass, we can see that we just crossed over level 22. And level 23 is a blank level, so we're probably not getting anywhere closer today on that one. But we've got a pack to open, and we've got a quest to spell. And unfortunately, we didn't improve. We went to blue or red. Um, we still have some weekly experience points to earn, some daily stuff to get, and we're at 475 gold. So we might as well open the pack. Let's see what we get. We got a best mythic card in the game, whatever one we want. That's awesome. We are definitely stacking up some rare cards too, which is pretty cool. We got our first Oil Gorger Troll, which is kind of a staple in my opinion for the oil deck that exists in red and green. And an Archfiend of the Dross. As long as you've got your own removal spells handy to get rid of this thing so it won't kill you. This thing is a stud. The other aspect is you can play this thing with like red-black and do churning reservoirs on it. You can use magmatic pummelers to drop some extra drops onto it. There's quite a few ways to use the Archfiend of the Dross, and the thing is just, it's just insane. A 6/6 flyer, like that also, whenever an opponent's creature, your controller dies, they lose 2 life. Is just, it's like a half shield Drid, but it's got flying. The only negative side of it is that it comes with its own clock, and it only has 4 counters. You lose a counter each turn, and then if it gets to 0, you die. So that's why I'm saying it's important to make sure you've got an answer waiting for you in your hand as far as it dying. I'm gonna confess something. I tried some 2 different deck styles that I was just thinking about as I was goofing off on the, we're going to call it the toilet, but whatever. One is called the Poisoned Oreo, and the Poisoned Oreo just is another way of saying black and white Orzhov colors. And there's our new ones that we've got. We might want to consider this card for this because we do have some beatdown built into this. But what we don't have is, counters, right? No proliferates, no counter kinds of messes, stuff like that. So, maybe not. We'll reconsider this Porcelain Zealot possibly. Porcelain Zealot hands off +2 to toxic creatures each turn. That thing is a 6/6 flyer by itself. Probably does more, but throwing a +2 on a Jawbone Duelist is pretty sweet. Let me tell you. Anyway, I just like this deck in general because it kind of leans on corruption for enabling some of these upper decker cards. It definitely lays very heavily into the toxic strategy, and it's got this kind of low section, and then it sort of graduates up with a couple of different things for finishers that are up here. So one finisher would be to remove every creature with power 2 or less, and sacrifice their highest powered creature. So it's about like a mini board wipe that could definitely help you get across the finish line. Another one is to drop 2 extra bodies and a 3/3 flyer, kind of threatening both sides of the equation at the same time, your toxic strategy and your health strategy. We can drop a Ravenous Necrotitan, which would normally cost you a creature, but we are going to be corrupted by the time we get to this place because of little shenanigans like this. The Necrogen Communion. Many times you're going to see us cast something like an Incisor Glider or a Pestilent Siphoner, and we're going to toss a Necrogen onto it, and it's just going to fly over the top and get them corrupted in one shot. If they don't, we do have some things like Drowning Ichors and Vraska's Falls as ways to sort of like, without having to make it across the line, to still get them corrupted. And then the other payoff that we've got is up here. We've got a dual striking a 4/4 flyer for 6 mana. That's going to dish out 8 damage each turn. It definitely can swing a game pretty quick in there. So black and white, same colors as an Oreo, and we've got tons of removal built in here. 1, 4, 5 different removal spells. We've got tons of low toxic enabler kinds of guys. I said 6 and I'm joking about the 5. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 removal spells. And so again, the goal is always have a removal spell available so that one of these little guys that don't look that threatening by themselves can still find their way across the finish line and sneak in that toxic, especially if we can drop a Necrogen on top of them as well. So Death Touchers, replacers that still leave a toxic enabler to ready to attack on the next turn. Dual strikers can just be super, super mean. If we've got a free attack on that and we put this on there, that is 4 toxic just by itself, each attack. So I kind of dig this deck in general. It's full of little sneaky things that you can do with the interactions between the cards and the removal spells, and it's full of surprise bombs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 different surprises that can hit them. Means that we should have at least one of them become available each game that we play. So we'll say done here. And the other one that I did was this one called the Toxic Moss. And I don't know. The idea that I had to do this deck was simply that I wanted to do a blue and green toxic deck, and I wanted to see if I had the tools to do that. The card draw that I get here comes with a Proliferate, which is nice. The Gixian Anatomist comes with the stabilization of a 5 toughness creature and the ability to proliferate if I don't need the 5 toughness creature to draw to block. Mesmerizing Dose puts a pause on a creature and proliferates. Prologue to Phrysis. Only have 1 copy, unfortunately, of this card. I'd like to see a lot more, and I'd maybe remove some of this other stuff. Anyway, pretty solid stuff as a way to get some toxic enabled, and nothing sweeter than throwing an Aspirant's Ascent onto a Venerated Rot Priest, because you're getting a toxic across the finish line. You're gifting a toxic onto a creature that comes with 1. So he's now got 2, and he's flying, and he's hitting for 2, but he's also got 5 toughness on the back end. So he can take, he can really threaten an attack on almost anything in the air. And a lot of times things in the air don't have the kind of toughness that you're scared of. On the back end, we've got some hasty finishers, with the idea being that we're going to just haste out an attack and go over the top. 3 toxic on this one, 4 on this one, total copy of 5 in the deck. Venomous Brutalizer is going to sneak in as another toxic 3, although it's kind of like the Proliferate is more... If this card shows up late, we're going to want to cast it for 6 so that we can just utilize that Proliferate and not have to fight. Viral Spawnings are kind of like having 2 copies of the card because you get a chance to recast it again. So it's like a 3/3 with Toxic 1 for 3 that can come back as a 3/3 with Toxic 1 for 3 as long as there's a corruption effect going on. And I really think that the Gwen of Eyes of Gaia has a place in this deck. More as a ramp, green always likes to have like the, cast something for 8 on turn 7 kind of tricks to it. And this is this one's no slouch. Essentially, you're going to get 2 different extra mana that you can spend on a creature, and if you do, she's going to untap and get a +1 that comes along with her. So you do want a bigger creature that you're doing it on, because if you do it, that's how you have to get the toughness has to be 5 or greater. But you can certainly get a Tyrannix Rex out there much faster. Even if you don't, getting a Tyrannix Atrocity to attack as a 4/4 instead of what they were prepared for, which was a 2/3 with no toxic, is a smooth way to kind of convert Gwenna, Eyes of Gaia. So, you can almost think of her as like a way to enable a card that's in your hand instead of like crewing a vehicle that's sitting on the side, right? Because that's 2 extra mana. I'm going to take her up to 5 pretty fast. You needed 3 to get her started. Contagious Vorak is another proliferator. It can help us block. It can help us stabilize. It's kind of got a lot. And if you cast an Adaptive Spore Singer on the turn following, you can gift the +2/+2 to the Vorak and end up with a 5/5 attacker, which is pretty sweet. This was the reason why we wanted to make the blue-green deck. The Ivy Gleeful Spell Thief essentially says whatever is being cast to this, she'll copy and cast it to her as well. And so if you're casting friendly spells, Tyvar Stands, right, against yourself, you're going to be in a pretty happy spot. Aspirant's Ascent, you're going to be in a pretty happy spot. I do think that there is Tamiyo's Safekeeping that is a better fit than that proliferate card that we had that was in there, and I knew I had one copy of it, so I'm just sticking it in there because it's just like almost like having four rot priests when they're both on the deck, right? Like you're just getting a duplication across the board, and Ivy ends up gaining, the toxic one that comes this way. And so duplicating these spells means that there's a lot more power that gets involved. The Copper Longlegs is sort of just a slow it down kind of guy. And I think that the infectious bites are really for when these things are out on the deck more than anything. So we can do some infectious bite stuff with some of their mites. We can do some infectious bite stuff with some of these 3/3 kinds of things. And it's just another way to deliver some of that. But you do have to be careful because the Ivy will copy the infectious bite attacks as well. And then now you're attacking with 2/1. Although the reason I like this one is the target creature deals damage equal to its power to a target creature you don't. And that's kind of cool because it means that she's not going to die. She's just boosting up an extra 2 power into whatever attack that you've got. Mana base is pretty standard. We don't have a ton of fancy mana. So, Toxic Moss, IV, the Spell Thief. We need blue or red spells, and there aren't a ton of blue in that side of things. I think we're just going to go after the red. We're going to warm up in ranked. Why not? With our ranked red deck. And there's no reason to do this except for the fact that, like, our goal here is to just simply cast those red spells and get ourselves up to the 500 damage that we need, or 500 gold that we need. Kamano Fakus Kakazan, and good enough. I'd like to draw a rot priest, or not a rot priest, everything's a priest. I just realized that. Whoop. And I like these. They look so professional. Okay, that didn't work out, unfortunately. So we just click next and end. We shouldn't have kept. We shouldn't have kept. Good for you. Yep. Well, that will. I'm going to stick him on there so that Carrie's Flame has a better chance of accomplishing something. Cammy's Flame says if you have a modified creature, you can do an additional 2 damage to face. And so what we've got here is a modified creature now because of the 2 oil counters that are on there. Magmatic Sprinter won't stay modified. She'll just eat the oil counters at the end of the turn. So unfortunately, if we want to create that sort of modification piece, we're going to have to work at it. I'm not worried about a Spirited Companion, but I am worried about Still Seraph. And so there are sometimes things that you want to do to get the most bang for your buck. In this case, we've got 3 mana, and we're going to start with the Carrier's Flame directly that hits the double shot. And we are going to hold off on these. Not that I'm just not that concerned yet about what the pace of play is that's here. We might end up seeing a what's it called? A Vindicator or something like that, and that's okay. We can still get rid of it with 3 mana, but it's not ideal. Sarah Paragon. Alright. So, unfortunately, we don't have the mana to get rid of it. And I'm not sure I would attack in with my etching necessarily, but maybe. Yeah, see, we just can't quite make that work. So we're just going to go this way. This way. I know it's 2 cards, but we've been playing our cards slow for a mono red strategy. And the reason for the slow is just because we're kind of mana locked. If we grab one more mana, we've got a cool turn coming up. I think what we would end up doing on the next turn is casting the Swift Sphere, going lightning strike to face, boosting the Swift Sphere up, creating 5, 6, 7 damage free from flesh, makes it to 9. Now, Spirited Companion needs to attack in here. Unfortunately, that's going to take some things off of face, right? So, we can do this. And we can do this. All attack. We'll go straight to face and see. I think we just lose the Spirited Companion just because it's just one less thing we have to deal with, right? And then we can do this. And we can put it on there. We got him close. And we should be able to attack 3 wide on the next turn in hopes of just getting around him. You know, you never want to be down to 2 life, right? Like that's pretty scary stuff. If they get 2 blockers, we might want to reconsider too, because the sprinter is just... I don't even have a farewell. We just want a to the face burn card. Play with fire. Yeah. Goodbye. That's fine. Just play. Just keeps her safe. Putting a shield counter on a wedding announcements is kind of funny. It's kind of what I was thinking. Like I said, kind of what I was thinking. Okay, so we have a lot of things that end this game. My man over here came prepared with the Planeswalkers, the wedding announcements, the Reckoners, the farewells. This is about as meta of a deck as you can get. Yeah, he'll be swinging for 8. And with the extra guy, that's a little scary. I know how this works. I think we've just lost this game. In fact, I know we've lost this game because the life gain double strike is just +8. We don't have the capability to get back at that point. So, we went a little too slow is what happened. We just gave them way too much time to set up all those little things, and they knocked them down right into our face. Meanies. That's okay, because we got half of our daily quest goal complete. And you know what? I'm okay with that. We've got something to hit the deck, something to play around with it, something to draw some cards, the mana to make it all work out. Yeah. Don't you wish you could make that 1 damage go to anything? Why? Why would you do that? I don't like it when they keep him on top either. But maybe he needed the mana for next turn. Which is kind of strange. Anyway, if I'm them and I've got 2 mana to spend, I'm probably spending it on something different than that. But we're going to get rid of this. We're going to all attack. And then we are going to pop this. And probably lose a Reckless Impulse to get 2 of them. And not exactly the world beater, but it ain't nothing either. I don't want to be casting spell cards on nothing for like very little payoff. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, here we go. If we cast the Sprinter, we lose the Battle Trick. So we're just better off with the Battle Trick, I think. I think taking the Reckless Impulse now and capturing in the kind of cards that we can double spell next time are perfect. That's not how you get the value out of those cards. Just pointing this out, right? Squeeze! So smooth! All the time! Okay. So, we will be threatening 5 wide for 1 extra damage. So we've got 4, 5, 6 total damage. We definitely want to take out the Koth. My Koth man over here can, I think, -3/-3 in order to take out our Squee. Or he can use it to plus, which will give him +2, which is an important thing. I think it's probably worth considering doing a lightning shot to the face in order to boost up the Swift Spear and give the Squee and something else to deal with. So I like it. I think we do it. So we lightning this to the face. That boosts this up. We say take a Magmatic Sprinter. You can drop him on the Swift Spear Spine. And then we can say attack here. And then attack, 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 attack here. And we can go here. So and this board got out of control very, very, very quickly, right? The mistake was right here. Using these play with fires instead of removing 2 like tiny little threats, you just did 4 damage. That's just a one-off. When I've got 20 damage, you're not changing my decision making on attacking. You're not causing me to hold back and slow down on the game. Like, you're not really accomplishing anything. All you're doing is being annoying. Ay, ay, ay. 1 win, but only 2 red cards away from our next jump-in pack. And we'll do the jump-in pack real quick. And then I was thinking of switching accounts on this. I'm doing a quick draft with you guys under the same video on the other account. I know it's a little off topic, but I got the 5,000 gold sitting over there, and I thought, you know, just giving an intro to what limited looks like and how it can be accomplished is probably a pretty good use of our time. Let's see. We'll see how the jump-in goes, and we'll see what our timing looks like when it's all said and done. Unfortunately, they forgot to give us cards. His name is Azrael, the cat. What's this bad guy from Smurf? Galgamesh. Anyway, Azrael is the real star of the show. The cat's the problem. Only reason the cat's the problem is because Azrael has got one of the best names that was ever gifted to a cartoon cat in the history of cartoon cats. I'm looking at you, Tom. Alright. Turn 3 Forge, right? Don't care what else happens. We're keeping this. We'll go here. We'll go here or here. And then we'll go there. So, let's go. think this is what it looks like for the path to victory. Um, we're going to cast another Voldaren Epicure. We're going to cast a Monetary Swiftspear on the next turn. And then we're going to toss in our third one and get our Forge out. That should pump the Monastery Swiftspear and give us a decent attack in. We can choose to attack or not. It's completely up to us. Right? But usually I like to take advantage of anything that I get. So one of two things happened. Either Azrael disconnected, like what happened on the way in, I think, and then had to reboot and reconnect. Or Azrael saw the mono-red setup, saw us on the draw, and said, I'm out! The negative side of that is we really want to play one more red card. Oh, thank you. Welcome back. Hello. Hello. That's so good. Okay, so let's go here. Let's go here. Let's call attack. And then let's call that. We got 2 blood tokens for cards cleaning if we end up needing to do it, although we seem to be just perfectly balanced between mana cost and things to do in our hand. We've also kind of been on time with most things. The only negative thing I could think of is this Voldaren Epicure could have been, you know, a Free from Flesh or something that would have boosted our Monastery Swiftspear up and allowed us to generate more on that attack. So instead of them being at -4 overall on the health, we theoretically could have made them at something like -5 or -6. I'm expecting something like a Tenacious Underdog that can hit up the Reckoner, Bankbuster, crew it, have it attack in for 4. I'm not going to block it whatsoever, and then we'll be even on life, and they can feel very, very good about their performance in the game so far. That didn't happen. That's okay, though. We got enough red cards down, right? I really think they're MIA. I think they're having computer issues. It's kind of a weird setup, though. Red, blue, black is not a normie. So they took the last turn off, Bankbustered out for an extra land. By the way, these are all fast lands too, so it's not like we're super behind. Now we're going to crew the Bankbuster with the Blood Tithe Harvester so we can attack for 4 on the way in. Or not. Key. I think we're going to do this because who doesn't like those? We're going to remove their ability to use the Bankbuster as a crew situation. At this point right now, they should crew it. Come on. Yeah. And what that does is that stops my Monastery Swiftspear from being able to attack me unless I want to lose it, and I don't really want to lose it. And so, essentially, I think that we attack with all 3, because I don't care if I lose a Voldaren Epicure, and I'll take the extra damage sneaking by. So he's taken 2 damage, maybe 3 if he chooses to get rid of the Epicure. It's up to him. I don't think either one of these hurts me any significant manner. So, yeah! That's good by me. Like I said, I get the 3 damage across the finish line instead of 2. Puts him down to 6. That, with a Urbrask Forge and no real good way to bring the Bankbuster back out next turn, is F-I-N-E fine. Depending on what we draw, we're going to probably pop a blood token on the next one and swap out this mountain for some kind of spell, right? That's an excellent card. We just picked up our own copy of that card. We're very, very happy to have it. This game's not going 4 more turns. This is just mean at this point right here. Magmatic Sprinter comes out, drops the oil counters there. This land comes out. Urbrask Forge comes out. And I think that we are definitely attacking all the way across. I'll keep the Monastery Swift Spear back, but I can't imagine why. No, I'm going to send it. It's not really my win con anymore. So he can drop 5, and then that means that 6 more is getting across the finish line. Yeah, that's the best part about red. It sneak attacks you, man. So close. We did it. 500 gold. Yeah. All right, claiming prizes. Lots of experience. Spun the dial halfway up. And we completed the Know Nothing level 2. So we're halfway towards getting level 24 complete. We get a couple more wins, which we still get the XP bonus for the 2 extra wins. So we could definitely do that too as like a B goal here. Remember our decks, right? We've got some new poison strategies, blue and green poison strategy, a black and white poison strategy, and a black and green poison strategy. We also have a different black and like a different setup over here that leans more into the toxic and less into the like finisher kinds of things. This is the only finisher that we've got. So, you know, instead of having the Gix's Chameleons and all those other upper end kinds of stuff for the Poisoned Oreo, where you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards up here that don't exist in the other one, and then we've got a lot less cards right here. The goal of this deck is not to win by toxic. You still can win by toxic, but the goal of this deck is to corrupt. Because if you get corruption, then these things get so much stronger, right? The goal of the other deck is to win by toxic, and so it tries to stay more uniformed in you know, like everything has some kind of toxic consequence. Whether we're talking about even Tenacious Underdog becoming like a blitz cost, kind of come in and toss a prosthetic injector onto him and just sneak one out of there, like you just didn't see coming. We've got the rats, we've got the Drowning Icors, we've got the removal spells and the necrogens that bring our guys back. We've got the proliferates going off the charts that are on there. Virus beetles to help make sure that we can see what we're up against. And another good way to kind of bring just some annoyance into our opponent's life. There is a 4th copy of a Pestilence Siphoner, so we might as well do it. We do have... yeah, see, we're missing a lot of cards that we would like to have. We could get rid of the Virus Beetle and put up another Whispers of the Dross. And I think that that's probably the right move. The other one would be maybe a Vraska's Fall. But either one works, in my opinion. This one has a chance to affect the board in a negative manner, and this one guarantees a negative manner. So we'll just do that one. 3 mana is not extremely expensive. We're not like moving the curve over here. And unfortunately, I would love to have a couple more of these injectors. I think these things are way underrated. I think that the +2 toughness is a tool that you just be surprised. Be surprised how important it is. So we've really leaned into our toxic strategies in the world. This is one of my more favorite toxic ones because of how, if you can kind of see like 2 copies, 3 copies, 3 copies, 4. 3 copies, 4 copies, 3 copies, 2. Like, there's a smoothness to how this deck will perform because of the constant uniformed reality of having these black early, you know, guys that get down, having these green guys that can help you attack from behind the lines, having a Necrogen Rot Priest, which will double the amount, or at least add an additional toxic to anything that hits with toxic, and then having these upper end threats that are hasty and just disgusting as far as bringing people down. I like this deck a lot. I think this deck is going to be a lot more consistent than the other toxic strategy. Specifically, this toxic strategy is the one that I'm thinking. But there's a lot of, I mean, you can win on turn 3. I actually did win on turn 3 with this deck yesterday when I was testing it out. So I was talking to my daughter about it, and she was like, "What? No way!" But yeah, there's a couple of spells that you can utilize that get you there. So we're jumping in to an event, and we're getting a little pumped up. We're getting a little excited about what we're going to get. We have no idea. Just to reiterate, last time we were able to pick up a lot of those little white toxic kinds of cards, and I think that's what got me thinking about all the toxic stuff. We also picked up some Raven Man, some removal, the Basilica Shepherd, the Porcelain Zealot. These all made it into the Orzhov decks that we built for Toxic. So we definitely added a lot of bodies to what we were looking for. Unfortunately, I think we picked up this, which has not made it in, and it's more of like if you're in a sacrifice deck or if you're in a deck that consistently wants to create tokens, you can get a lot more out of it. Um, we're going to resign. We're going to go 1,000 gold in, and we're going to take a look. Let's start with Warlock. I feel like we've looked at this one before. It is self-mill and reanimation. Black and green self-mill strategy would hold hands with like the graveyard synergies and stuff like that. The card that we would get is a 6-mana card called the Hourglass Coven. And the Hourglass Coven has a spell book, and you get to draft 2 cards from those and put those cards directly onto the battlefield. What's kind of cool is for 6 mana, you're getting a 3/3 and you're getting 2 more cards. And then other warlocks that you have get +1. So you've got a Warlock Lord, you've got a 3/3, and then you've got 2 more things that can specialize in the way that you want them to be. I think it's an underrated card. I think it actually has quite a bit of strategy synergy to it, but it's an alchemy card, and it's only really playable in the alchemy deck. And I don't think that I'm super excited about that because I just don't play alchemy at all. Soldiers is going to give us a Siege Veteran, which is an incredibly good card. It gifts out a +1/+1 at the beginning of combat on each turn. You can put it on itself. The other option is the Skystrike Officer, which is also an incredibly valuable card. It creates a artifact token soldier, all 3 very, very important words, that every time it attacks, it leaves that behind as a way to block, like as a chump blocker, as a way to create more soldier synergy. If you've got some things that say, I give this +1s to soldiers, or if we want to take an artifact and sacrifice an artifact, X will happen. So I'm a huge fan of the Sky Strike Officer, and so I think that the soldier tribe is one that we should consider going after. Mishra is unfortunately one of the worst ones. The gold card is Mishra's Command, and Mishra's Command is just not one of high use. It's kind of a rampy, late in the game, sink all your mana into it for a giant attack against one of their giant creatures. And while all that's well and good, it's in red. Red doesn't do that. Red doesn't get to turn 10, turn 8, whatever the case is. Skitterbeam Battalion suffers from a similar situation. It is a 9-mana artifact that creates 2 more copies of itself. So it's a 4/4 that hits the deck, and then 2 more 4/4s hit the deck, all with haste, all with trample, ready to attack. Can be very difficult to beat down. The prototype version of it is just 2/2s, and you have to cast it for 5 mana. You still get the 2 copies, but overall, Skitterbeam Battalion by itself is not it's not a deck. Like, it's a good red bomb to toss into a red deck because you can get to 5 mana. But we have a 20% chance of getting there. I think we really want the soldiers. I think that we're lacking in soldiers. It's like the strongest tribal deck I think in the game. It's always, when we look at like the top performing decks, it's Naya humans and Azorius soldiers. Like those are the 2 guys that are at the top. So I think that we're just gonna live with soldiers and move on. All right, interesting. Arcanist is the Haughty Djinn. That is a must. That is a must. Training is the Survivor of Olimbark. He's the weak guy that comes out but then can train up and take other players off the field when he attacks. And the final one is Urza's. And Urza's is the Urza's Command, which is the blue command card, which is better. It works good with the artifact theme. It's 4 mana. Most of the time what you're going to do is create a Power Stone, so you're going to get a mana back that you can spend on artifact creatures. And then you're going to create a golem that gets a +1 for every artifact that's on the board, right? So it and the thing are 2, so you get a 2 head start. But if you've got like a lot of those you know, token soldiers that I was talking about before, that we might be able to create inside the soldiers pack, you can definitely get those golems up pretty quick. It's a neat card. It's good. It's not nearly as good as the Haughty Djinn. The Haughty Djinn is like the only, like, you can't really play blue without a Haughty Djinn. I mean, it opens up an entire color for us. So we take the Arcanist and we take a look and see what we ended up with. We got the Haughty Djinn. Score. Very good. We've got the Siege Veteran. Score, score. Although I wouldn't have minded the other one. The Sky Strike Officer with all this blue would have been kind of neat. They gave us some other Djinns that are kind of neat. These are counter spells and other flyers that come across the finish line. The soldier here gives other soldiers +1/+1, but she just costs 4, and they've got lords that cost 2 that give soldiers +1/+1. I don't mind having her in the deck, but it's just, you know, here's a flash flying soldier, which is a great card. When it enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target creature you control to its owner's hands, and if it was a soldier, this guy gets to gain a +1. So what you can do is you can look at things like a 1 mana recruitment officer, and then a Zephyr Sentinel kicking the 1 mana soldier back, turning this guy into a 3/2 flyer who can come in with flash as a blocker. So it looks like you've only got a 2/1 to block, and now you've got a 3/2 flyer to block. Kind of cool. I like it. I dig it. I would do the same thing probably with the Air Marshal to a certain extent. This is not a soldier. Impulse just lets you look at the top 4, put one of them into the hand so you can kind of get a really nice draw out of the whole deal. But for the most part, nothing exceptionally good here. Draw 2 cards, and if the spell was kicked, each opponent discards a card. You're not going to be able to kick it too often. They did give us a couple black cards, but for the most part, not so much. And then this spell costs 1 blue less to cast. The opponent casts 2 or more spells this turn, and you can just get to counter a target spell like a hard counter. I think even a hard counter at 3 mana is worth a lot. One thing that I've noticed, though, is we've got 1 enchantment, which isn't going to really trigger this. 1 hypnotic pattern, which is nice. It's like a -4, but that goes to a -2 post. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. This is actually a better card than you think. In a world with Proliferate, those stun counters can get proliferated. They can keep getting stunned. I've looked at some blue Proliferate decks before and felt like Involuntary Cooldown was a completely underrated card. 6. So Haughty Djinn's going to have a real hard time being great in this deck because of the fact that there's just not enough spells into this deck. Like, you need a lot of instant and sorceries getting into your graveyard to make that happen. There are some self-mill strategies that go along with the Haughty Djinn to make it really, really neat. A lot of the new Jace like stuff in Phyrexia has some mill built into it that you can self-mill like 3 cards and kind of build your Haughty Djinns up. We don't have those Planeswalkers yet, but just something to consider. Like, as we get some cards that say mill, we might want to consider pairing some blue with some mill strategies. I would say black and green are usually the #1 targets for mill, and blue would just be kind of sitting on the sideline. But we've got a lot of things that like to put stuff in the graveyard in black. Not necessarily instants and sorcery spells, though. It's mostly creatures with, like, the Grant's Braids deck. So we'll see. Okie dokie. We've got a single thing to do here on turn 1, a turn 2, and a turn 3. So we're keeping. We've got a nice curve out. We've got a spell or 2, actually just 1, and that's okay. Look at him. He's got... Oh, no. That's gross. We don't need to do that. We're staying on curve. Yeah, we can send that back. Yeah. Haha, that's pretty funny. Okay, so we can do... we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And then we're going to see what happens next. We can cast the Hypnotic Pattern later, just as they're about to attack. And then we can probably block it with the Steadfast Paladin, prevent the 2 life gain with the -2. Just get the most amount of value out of that card. That doesn't scare us, although it does mean that something's getting never-ending flying on the next turn. I think that we are hit-hacking. I do think that we could do the Hypnotic Pattern on the Steadfast Paladin with the Recruitment Officer, attack, and then give the Siege Veteran the +1 to make that work. So I think that we're good. We're going to go here in order to make sure that she survives. Say all attack, go next. Use the Hypnotic Pattern on there and there. Probably should have done it the other way, but that's okay. That's how you learn cards. So you can see the Siege Veteran is pretty powerful. Handing out +1 counters is just kind of unfair, right? Zephyr Sentinel unfortunately goes down to these 2 if they both choose to block Zephyr Sentinel. The other aspect that we could do is we could attack in and we could kick one of their cards with an instant spell, which I totally dig as an answer. So let's do it. We're going to throw it onto the Zephyr Sentinel, okay? And we're going to all attack in, I think, because we can always just bounce something else too, right? We're okay with that. We're very happy with that. We'll do it like this and say done, and then we will return a creature card to its owner's hand like this, and we'll get rid of you. And we will go next. Just about getting the most amount of value out of your cards, right? Steadfast Paladin came down as a good blocker, but because of the fact that we had gotten the most amount of valuable out of the Sentinel, we kind of predicted what we were going to do. We were going to use the 1-drop. We were going to bounce the 1-drop back out in order to make the Sentinel a threat. We were going to try to get our recruitment off, our veteran, Siege Veteran down so that we can kind of make sure that we pick and choose these guys. And they just keep getting more positive, and we're threatening lethal at this point. So you can't argue with good Magic. Sometimes it just goes your way. That one we had a very, very good opening hand. Okay, so claiming the prize. It's not bad. I just feel like we might be one of the very few cards we already had 4 of. Yeah, I think it was. If I type in the word ninja. We had 4 of those guys. We have a few of these. We had some ninjas, unfortunately. I mean, there's no protection against duplication in there, and so that's a bit of a bummer. We just need 1 more win to get the 1 more pack. And as far as decks are concerned, I'm trying to think, does the Haughty Djinn or the Soldiers go anywhere just naturally? Do they fit into any strategy that we've got? The closest we've got is these remastered Angels, where we're looking for flyers, and we decided to kind of change how this deck worked. But it's got blue, and it's got white, and it's got flyers that are in there. Choose a target creature and tap it. If you control a creature with a counter on it, the chosen creature doesn't untap. So, this one puts counters on stuff, and so does this one. And Cigar to Summon says the creatures you've got with counters go up, and this one makes counters, and this one adds counters to this one when it comes in. I do like that Angel a bit more than that Angel. I'll tell you what, though. I can live without the Griff Rider, too. Training does give you an opportunity to gain counters, though. So we're going to hold on to that for a second. Got some good removal. Put a +1 counter on a target creature you control and it gains vigilance, and then you can flash it back for 1 extra. Sounds good. And this one is just the one card that I think, nah. I can put the Haughty Djinn in. All that's going to do is make some of these other instant spells cheaper, right? And these cheaper instant spells are going to give us an opportunity to do a bit more with the Haughty Djinn. It'll just be a little bit more that's in there and a little bit more that we can accomplish by doing these sorcery spells, these instant spells, this instant spell. And unfortunately, this enchantment's not going to make it happen. Everything else is kind of creature-based and ground-based. This is what the real curve of the deck looks like. It's got a lot of 3-drops that are in there, mostly flying theme or training theme if we're grounded. So we are a flyer, a flyer, a flyer, a flyer. Grounded but trained, grounded but trained, grounded but trained. And then flying hands out counters, gives out flying, lifelink, all kinds of goodies. So lots of good stuff. 61 cards out of 24 with a total mana cost of 3.3. We're certainly a little high on there, and I think that I probably take the tapper out of the equation for the Steel Seraph. It's just a better answer. I say we give it a shot. We need a win. It's kind of interesting. I feel like this deck might be better than I've given it credit for. It's not the same. It's not the same angels that, like, you know, the blue-white Azorius flyers that they give us in the beginning of the game too often. We're going to keep 7 here. We're going to throw the slow land first. Ugh, Andy, don't just. Oh, Andy, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. Haha. Half of the health is already back. I would definitely put the trainee in. I think I'm going to put the trainee in second. It has to attack with somebody who's got more power than it, and so it hitting the deck early isn't going to really play out too well. You got to play with fire, I'm thinking. Gonna come in next. I think he's got to play with fire. Number 3? Yeah. Number 4. All play with fire is gone. Is that all? Right. 1, 2, 3. Nah, just 3. Unfortunately. Alright, here you go. Yeah, there was just not much we could do. We just got run over, right? Like, I don't know that they draw that perfect ever again. Their deal, but they literally drew the right answer 100% of the time, right? So, yeah. I guess so. Hmm? Yeah. Man, that was good. All right. So, one-sided game. A lot of perfect draw. Everything that we've got has a toughness problem. Something to consider. I mean, when you're casting 4 and 5 mana creatures that have 2 toughness, that's going to leave you very susceptible to bounce backs. I do think that that's probably something to consider. One thing I learned was that if I would have bounced the Shivian Devastator, it would have been a 1/1, and that would have definitely swung a lot of the flow that was over there. So we'll go with the slow land and consider the Griff Rider or the Borrowed Time. Unfortunately, we're looking for another slow land. Yeah, 2 or more here. So I think we just do another slow land. And Evolving Adaptive is going to go up a little, not a lot, unfortunately. Like so, nothing scary about it. I think we could toss a Griff Rider out. Trying to create some board presence, give him a reason to slow down. There we go. That's a better removal. Yeah, no, we'll take that trade all day. We can go with this. Get out of here, Torrens. We ain't needing those extra go wide strats. There'll be another engine that comes down. Okay. Thank you. Ah. Are we still in ranked? Like, what the heck is going on here? We got a rare card. We got a mythic card. We got a mythic card. We got a lot. Just a lot. I'd expect some damage to come my way here. No ETB on that one. Okay. We're just getting handled. And it's funny because, like, the deck that we're playing has just moved us into some crazy queue where everyone's got, like, meta deck kind of stuff. Decks that move quick, that have like the right answer at 4, the right answer at 5, the right answer at 6. It makes us believe that like this is just terrible. We need to win though, so let's go get a win with like this one's the pure toxic strat. I don't like it as much as I like the other one. I think let's go with the other one, the poisoned Oreo. Yeah, we need this win, and then we'll take a break. Yeah. Poisoned Oreo. My bad, my bad, my bad. I got a little distracted there for 2 seconds. Poisoned Oreo it is. Does that count? Okay, we have a 2-mana creature, but overall, we're not very happy with what we see here. We'll start with a mono black look. We've got a Jetmir's Garden, right? Triome hitting the deck. Triome means 3 different lands. And so, what a shocker. We are in Alchemy. I am just conceding right now. How did we end up in Alchemy? I will never know. This stupid game decides to default not to what you want we're playing, but to Alchemy every time. And that just puts you in broken card city. Everybody's got broken cards. Everybody's just trying to do their Alchemy ranked grind with their broken thing because they can get it done on turn 2 or turn 3. And there are a lot of turn 3 wins. It is very little skill. It is very little fun. It is kind of like this hand, right? Ugh. That'll work. We'll get rid of the glider since we've got the pestilent siphoner, and we're going to stay on the toxic theme here. So, keep 6. Moving you out. I generally like to represent the wrong color if I can, in hopes of confusing them. Yeah. There is some merit to doing this. I know we're going to lose some life, but then we just don't have to worry about it getting so big. The Kicker Bloom is pretty solid of a spell, too. Oh, they could have attached that. Not what I was expecting. We're going to control. If we want to cast both Pestilent Siphoners on the next hand, we need to control that. Now, he can certainly attack his Prosthetic Injector to something. Let's see. I think the Scrap Gorger is just going to block. Okay. So we'll be threatening 1 damage with 1 toxic. I'm on a 5-turn clock. He's on a 2. We'll say no blocks here. We can do 3 damage. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We'll just click next. 2 attacks. 2 toxic. And we're going to make something corrupted. Okay? And the goal of making something corrupted here is to allow our Ravenous Necrotype to come out. Yeah. Unfortunately, it didn't work. He used his last card to protect his Scrap Gorger, which makes no sense. I'm not bitter about it. I just don't understand. What was the gain? Yeah? You lost your Tyvar stand. You had a plan. You might have messed it up. We'll go next. We'll attack with these two guys in order to get that corruption going. Then we can dross this guy down without losing anything. And it just got a lot harder to attack. I think we're just all attacking. We're not really at risk of anything hurting us, and you know, he can do that, and we can be threatening him. There you go. Even if they throw a bigger creature and adaptive goes up, we'll sacrifice the Blightbelly Rat. It will give us an extra toxic. That will put us at 9 toxic at the end of the next turn. Possible 10. But here's the thing. If they choose to do this... Okay. Alright, well, that'll change it. Get on there. We found a card. Like I said, I'm still sacking out my Blightbelly Rat against the Evolving Adaptive. Should they choose. Okay. I think we're just all pressing in. There's nothing like, oh my god, I gotta keep this alive for whatever. The toxic strategy is still the main way for us to win this game. And this is going to give us 3 toxic to do it this way. So, why not, right? We're going to take out both of these characters right here. And this is going to give us a plus. And we're going to say submit. And we're going to go here. And we're going to look for a green board wipe. I don't know. Yeah, no blocks. Sure, just for the funsies. Got him, coach. Let's see what we get in our pack, and then let's call it. Level ups, level ups, level ups, level ups. 250 experience, finished off our weekly wheel as far as weekly wins are concerned. Gathered in level 23 or 24 on the deck, and now 25 is what's coming up next. We got a card style. Looks like we got the Hex Gold / style, which is cool. And we got a pack that we can open. Oh no, we didn't get it because we don't own the bottom ones. My bad. We just got the pack. Let's see what the pack attack gives us. This is great. This is great. This is okay. We wanted another copy of this. This is good. And a Red Sun's Twilight. Womp womp womp. Destroy up to X target artifacts if X is 5 or more each. For each artifact destroyed this way, create a token that's a copy of it. Those tokens gain haste, and then you exile them at the beginning of the next end step. Why would you do this? Because you might be able to form Mirrodin back a bunch of pieces of equipment that are sitting on the sideline, right? So the goal here is you cast it for 5, you destroy 3 of your sitting there on the sideline for Mirrodin artifacts. They come back for 1 turn, but they come back for 1 turn and create a 2/2 ready to go that has haste. And so it's a way for you to go wide very quickly and attack very quickly. It's a one-time shot, unfortunately. Those tokens will disappear. This is one of those pieces of equipment that I'm referring to. So it's kind of like a Hail Mary on the equipment deck after you've been getting beat down and leaving, you know, the carcasses of your fallen brethren on the side of the road. Talking to you, Russia. So, there you go. There you go. Other than that, we're going to call it a day right there. Pretty good hour. I think getting a Haughty Djinn was cool. This deck sucks, so we're not sure what we're going to do. But these decks are totally fine. Should we put our Red Sun's Twilight in a deck already? We could live with 1 less of these and get the Red Suns in. Let's go. Shrapnel Slinger is good. but not necessary and not necessary. So we've got the Red Sun's Twilight in, and then we're going to take an Against All Odds out, which is kind of a similar idea. It just doesn't have the blow it up and make it a board wipe kind of deal. 1 Lizard Blades, 4 Rabid Batteries, 2 Eater of Virtues, and then some targets for us to equip, like Jor Kadeen and Bladecraft Aspirants, and even the Lion Slash and the Lizard Blades are both targets that can get equipment put on them too. And then over here we've got some of the more powerful 4 Mirrodin cards that can hit the deck, and then a really nice couple of carriers for our equipment. I kind of like having the double. I like having that more than this, to be honest. Yeah, I just don't think that putting a trample on a 2/2 is going to affect anything, and we're not really dealing with things that are going to be much higher than 2/2 in this deck. So these Hexbolt Halberds are a little less enticing, and Michigo's Reigns of Truth are good. Ossifications are good. I think we just make some slight adjustments like this, thinking that we can just get these wings and these because they have really, really high equipment costs, right? 3 and 5 up here. So if the equipment cost is too arduous, we can use the Red Sun's Twilight, and these other equip costs are cheap. 1, cheap 2. We can gather in things like the Double Strike from the Duelist. We can gather in Flying from the Incisor Glider. So we really want to stick our Eater of Virtue on top of these things all the way across the board in order to gather in Haste and Double Strike and Flying. And if our Eater of Virtue can gather in 1 or 2 of those, and then we stick it onto like a Bladegraft Aspirant, we've got ourselves a pretty cool card. This one's also pretty cool in the sense that when it attacks with, it doesn't have to be the one that gathers it in, but if you can get it to go up with the plus, the pluses that come from the Eater of Virtue, you can turn Jor-Kadeen into a hasty flying dual striker with 1 Eater of Virtue equipment attached to it that draws a card. Okay, and that's trample. That's what I want to do now. I don't want to do anything else. I just want to do that. We'll say done. I think I like that deck a lot. But we're not going to play it right now. All right, you talked me into it. Play 1 game. We're letting the elementary kid decide to sleep in just a little bit. She's still getting over being very, very sick for almost a whole week now, which is just a bummer. We will do what we can to get them in to school, but it'll probably be me waking up the 16-year-olds. And I say that like there's multiple ones, it's just one of them that we're going to be taking to school. We'll drop the Eater of Virtue down first. We've got some removal spells, and we've got a turn 3 target to do. So Michigo on to decide. Phoenix Chick. Why, Jim? Why? I'm out here just trying to have some fun. We can ossify the threat. I don't think the Phoenix Chick is the threat. So let him get his hits in. He'll get a couple damage done. Are you serious? Color me shocked. I hate that. I don't like it in their hands. That's a shocking card. A 1-mana destroy artifact card is, whew. Didn't know it existed. 1 mana to destroy an artifact. What a great way to handle things like Urbrask Forge. What a great way to handle things like Phyrexian Arenas, Bank Busters, I can think of a lot of pretty scary artifact cards that are out there. So, awesome sauces. That stuff doesn't worry me. One off, take 2 damage. We know that mono red is doing this early, and this is the amount of value they're going to get from the cards, right? 1 damage, 2 damage, 1 damage, 2 damage. Like, we're not going to see a ton that come against us here. That's not going to help, unfortunately. So we'll put down the aspirants, making all the equipment cheaper. If we don't pull anything along the land side of things, we can now still cast our Hex Gold units, which should put an end to what's going on with the Phoenix check. Yeah, we can double spell next turn. He's just going to spell up the Festival Crasher. It's going to make it an ugly block for me. There's no reason for me to take that block. I'm thinking a play with fire here, a lightning strike here is the most likely answer. Put the Hex Gold Cover Wings out of the picture, allow them to get a free reign and attack with a 3-4 kind of damage. It's the right move. If they've got it. If they don't, this changes quite a bit. I think we just take out the chick, right? Because if we took out something like the Festival Crasher and then they use that play with fire, we're in deep, deep caca. Okay, we're going to flip some of this just a little bit. We've got 4 mana, and this is the wisest 4 mana use that we can get on there. So I think that that's what we do. Rabid Battery is good. It's 1 mana and it'll attach. So we could do that, but I like the idea of stopping the Goru Goru. Yeah, we're going to Michiko first, which is just going to make the decision on the Rabid Battery, which means we should just cast the Rabid Battery at this point. We're going to board pump right here. I'm going to put this out on the deck. We're going to put this attached to this. And now we're swinging for 10, threatening lethal on the next turn. I don't think they're threatening lethal on us. I could be wrong, but let's find out. A single play with fire is 3, and that makes this a total of 7, and that's a win. Was that right? No. 3, that makes this 5, so that would bring him to 8, so we would win. Oh no. 4, 5, 6, 7. Haha. We still win. Good game. You're out of mana, you're out of cards. Nothing you can do. Right? An artifact? No. 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 assuming for a second that I attack with the Blade Graft Aspirant, just for a second, just assume I do. He's got to double block it to survive, which means he's got to take out. So I think I'm doing that. The other opportunity would be to move the Rabid Battery over and turn that into a first striker, which would go against the Furnace Strider, and then the Blade Graft would take out both. But it would trade. I mean, they're both good to a certain extent. I'm losing somebody along the way. So we'll just go next to combat. I think we just do it like this, just to keep things interesting, right? I should have classed the Blade Hold War Whip first, and then have Michigo go off. That's on there. Yeah. That's fine by me. I'm just losing a 3-mana creature, putting them back into a corner down to 1, but I still get a chance to keep the creature. And so there's not a lot of reason for me to panic here about what happens next. I can attach the wings to the Rabid Battery if I'd like. What does it get? It gives +1, so that would give it 2. Yeah. I think we do it. Yeah. I think we just stick it over there and we could always bring it back. Like, no big deal. Now my Rabid Battery can change with the trade with their Goru, and depending on what we see here, they can attack. I wanted to make sure I had the ability to chump if another Furnace Strider showed up, right? You're out of cards, sir. And you just used your one shot at making a 5/5 flyer. And you had an attacking creature. You had it right there. You could have done it. You done messed up. Michigo! We beat Mono Red, and they were on the draw, and that's because the equipment deck is super fun. What I was referring to was his Goro has a 5-mana, create a 5/5 red dragon spirit creature token that has flying, but act it only if you've got a modified attacking creature. If he didn't use the 1-mana spell that he did before, which was the Immolation that was on there, what he would have ended up being able to do was he would have ended up being able to attack with the Furnace Strider in for 4, create a 5/5 flyer, making it very, very difficult for me to hit him back on the crackback, leaving 2 blockers. Now, I would have only had 2 eligible attackers, assuming that I was going to lose just one instead of losing both, like I did. But, man, gid, that was a bit of a misplay. I would rather have a 5/5 flyer out there than anything. We got another card. It's a rare card. Maria, Scholar of Antiquities, is not a card that I'm familiar with. Tap an untapped non-token artifact you control to create 1 green mana. Tap 2 untapped non-token non-token artifacts you control to exile the top card of your library and play it this turn. 3/3 for 3 is always good. 3/3 for 3 with card draw capabilities is really kind of neat. No artifacts in the Gruely Wolves deck over here, right? Like if I type in artifact, we don't see much. The Maze Crusher is one. This thing deletes artifacts, and these are the artifacts that we use at the top end of the deck. But for the most part, you're tapping artifacts. So you're looking for cheap artifacts that are down near the bottom of the barrel that can cause this to happen. So the other way to do this would be to use it like as a build around, to say, I'm going to create a deck in these two colors with artifact synergies in standard. Okay? And now you can start to see all the different artifact creatures and artifact synergies that exist out here. We've got the Forge. We've got the Braids to remove them. We've got the Reinforced Ronin, which is just incredible. A Rabid Battery. We've got Experimental Synthesizer a little bit, but to the lesser extent, but the Churning Reservoir is really pretty solid. The other aspect is over here. Incubation Sac is really, really good, and it taps, which is great. We've got a prototype, create a golem that has 3 times whatever the power is. So for 5 mana, you can make a 6/6 after you spent 2 mana to bring it out. This thing gets a +1 every time you drop an artifact onto the deck. Some artifacts to drop onto the deck include, let's just bring them all in, right? Why not? We have got some artifact synergies going. Malira is not the right one. Destroy a target artifact. Titan of Industry hits the deck. We actually have 2 of these? Like, good gracious, we're so strong here at the top. I don't know about Cleanup Crew being the right answer long term. Can't be blocked by artifact creatures. That's good news. Destroy an artifact. Terra Sunder is an artifact destruction. Cultivator is an enchantment. Creates a creature that's a token. We talked a little bit about this being kind of a fun one-off, but I don't know about it being like our go-to. We definitely like our Forges. We definitely like our Sprinters. We definitely like our Reinforced Ronins. We're kind of into Lizard Blades. Hex Golds are workable. Rabid Batteries are great. Artifact creature gives haste. Across the board, nothing but solid. Whenever another creature that you control is put into the graveyard, this guy picks up something. Can be good in a sacrifice synergy kind of deck. Whenever you cast an instant and sorcery spell, put a charge, and then you get to remove any number of those charges, and it deals that much damage to any target for 2. Not really our deck, unfortunately. Glittering Stockpile is really nice on the ramp side, and since we've given ourselves lots of things to ramp towards, something to consider sticking in the deck. Explosive Entry, destroy up to 1 target, put a +1 counter on 1 creature. Can be kind of fun. I like that as a removal spell more than I like it anything else. I don't really see Churning Reservoir making the grade, but I'm just going to keep it in there as on the side as a possibility. And then we do like some of these cards as well. For removal. Okay, so leaning hard into the artifact synergy. We'll take out the Titan of Industries here for a second. We'll take out, what do you think? Maybe the Hex. We don't need all these. We don't need these. Any of these bad? 2 mana that makes a 6/6 on a 4 mana swing. Hands out a +2 for 4. It's kind of the slowest out of all of them. Yeah, these ones are bad. Ouch. Too many rabid batteries, maybe, huh? And too many reinforced Ronins. If we come down to 2 on both of those, who are we giving haste to? I guess we're just using it to kind of strengthen up some of this stuff. Right? Maria. Facts by Maria. So we've got top end strategy is heal and smash and gift, smash and gift, ramp and maybe even get a additional artifact if you want to tap some things that are sitting on the sidelines over here that aren't necessarily accomplishing anything. Getting a chance to put stuff on top of our Miglos gives us a mana sink that gets a lot of +2s out the door. We could have lived without this one and maybe added back in some of the top end, but there's some winning strategies here and here and here and here and here and here and here. So there's a lot of winning strategies built into this deck. I think I kind of dig it. We will go to the land half of things and look for 2 or more lands. Look for damage land is fine. 2 or fewer lands is fine. And I feel good about just 2 colors and that much smoothing. 1, 2, 3, 4 fast smoothers. Feel good about all this. We really don't have like a lot of like, you know, double pipping, 1 here. That's about it. That's really about it. So, I'm not too concerned about getting the green on the necessary timeline. The Wormlet coming down first on turn 1 would be really good in this deck. So we do want enough green to make that happen, but we've got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 in a 60 card deck means that we've got a little bit better than a 1 out of 8 chance at getting a green on the way in, because we've got 60 cards that are here, and you only get 7 cards when you first draw. So maybe we should consider coming down to and up to. Again, the goal is to make it 1 out of 7, right? I like it. I like the deck. I like the cover. I think we'll do... She looks kind of like she works with artifacts all the time in a forge. And this card sleeve looks atrocious. We'd like to put a green with red on there. I guess that's our man. 21 creatures, 15 spells, and most of the spells come in the form of artifacts, right? If I type in the word artifact, this is what the deck looks like. Artifact on every single one. So artifact triggers galore for the Teething Wormlet. Artifact triggers galore for tap ability here with Maria. So I am digging it. Digging it, digging it, digging it. We even have